Struggling to earn 3 stars at Town Hall 16? Well, these are the 5 best attack strategies you need to use to 3-star more. Starting us off at number 5 is the Root Rider Smash. Still a particularly strong army, but rather than using the Royal Champion charge, we're running a Queen Warden charge. This uses the Archer Queen with the Angry Jelly, along with the Grand Warden and his Rage Gem, along with some healers and a balloon to look for Seeking Air Mines. We're using Super Wall Breakers to get as deep into the base as we can, and otherwise we're using the invisibility spells to keep our heroes hidden. This allows us to get a lot of value a lot quicker than you would with the Royal Champion. Plus, you don't have to always use all of your spells, and even if you do, you're getting better value running this type of charge. If you do need extra protection, a Totem spell is great at doing so. Otherwise, you want to get as much value as you can, and once the Angry Jelly expires, recall them back. Other than this, you're going to use a few Super Barbarians to control where your heroes are going, before then returning the recalled heroes back and allowing you to start your Root Rider Smash. Now obviously, you need to cut off the funnel for your Root Riders, so obviously running the Barbarian King with the Snake Bracelet and Spiky Ball is going to give him enough HP to allow you to move into the core of the base with your Root Riders. Speaking of which, as you move in with your Root Riders, you'll have the Royal Champion move in, you'll have the Troop Launcher providing balloons, but you also want to use an Overgrowth over the core. This is going to allow your Root Riders to move themselves towards the core of the base, allow you to have enough of a push as you work in. Totem spells can be great for distracting defenses, but as you reach the core and just before the Overgrowth expires, use your Healing Tome to keep everything alive, and using the Frost Flake here can act almost like a mini Eternal Tome, where you can freeze a ton of defenses and get great value in the process. Otherwise, for the most part, you're going to be able to easily push through and clear out defenses like it's nothing. The Frost Flake in this situation is great because it's able to protect your units a little bit better and keep everything healed. And overall, Root Riders are still going to be one of the better attacks in the game, but you definitely want to use it in this format rather than just sticking to a traditional Royal Champion charge. Moving over to number 4, we see the Mass Totem Dragon strategy. This is particularly good due to how strong totem spells are at distracting defenses. Overall, we need to start off with funneling. On one side, we're using the Royal Champion with her Electro Boots to clear trash buildings and the Rocket Spear to snipe down defenses. On the other side, we're using the Archer Queen with her Giant Arrow, which can activate Invis Towers or clear air defenses and or air sweepers off the base. We also are going to be able to set up a funnel with the Archer Queen while being tanked for by the action figure. Otherwise, we can then use a few rocket balloons to control pathing by targeting defenses or clearing out an additional air defense over on the back end. Otherwise, we can then use the rest of our dragons to start moving in between our 2 funnels with the Minion Prince, the Warden, and the Stone Slammer. As we start to work in, totem spells should be used to start distracting defenses, and of course, we do want to use something like a free spell over something like the Town Hall. It's going to do a lot of damage, so we want to make sure that we have a nice, comfortable ride in. So this is where we can use a Rage spell and the Warden's Eternal Tome to keep everything alive as we work through. You can use totem spells to distract things like the scatter shots, air defenses, etc., but you want to make sure that you're able to just keep everything alive as you work in. You can use the Dark Orb in this situation in the core of the base so you can slow down defenses, especially if they're raged up, and that way as you work towards the back end, the totem spells can be used for things like air defenses and enemy heroes, and otherwise you'll have a nice, comfortable ride as you work through the back end of the base. Having something like a Super Dragon in the CC really does help add additional DPS, and otherwise, if you're a fan of air attacks, I heavily recommend this strategy just because of how easy and strong it is. Over in the 3rd spot, we see the Super Bowler Smash, a particularly strong smash attack that's seeing a great resurgence. This attack strategy doesn't use a Fireball or a Royal Champion charge, but simply a Warden Walk. We're using the Grand Warden with healers to set up funneling on its own, but this is where we do want some help from the Flame Flinger. The Flame Flinger does have a few weaknesses like the Expos or Mortars, but you can use a Totem spell to distract Expos, and usually the Mortars are going to be better to tank for with the Grand Warden. Otherwise, you just want to make sure that you are creating solid pathing, which is exactly why the Flame Flinger is used here, since most defenses get completely outranged by it. Otherwise, we want to lure over the Warden after we set up a funnel and cut off the other side of our funnel with the Archer Queen. We're not using the Queen inside the base and rather used for funneling because the Super Bowlers are also going to get help from the Royal Champion. We're going to delay her, so as we're able to work into the base, we can get her to move along. Otherwise, as you work in, you should use tome spells to distract defenses like the Monolith, and as you work into the core, an Eternal Tome and Rage spell is great, along with the jump spell to get through. Obviously, as you reach the back end or core of the base, you should use the Frost Flake to get great value with your Royal Champion, and also just protect everything as they work in. This should allow you to overall overkill the base. You can open up walls with the Earthquake Boots and Spiky Ball, and for the most part, your Super Bowlers are going to easily smash through with no problems. They are so strong right now, especially under the Rage Gem, and having the Royal Champion's Frostflake really helps a ton with this strategy. Over at number 2, we see the Fireball Thrower attack, which is particularly strong currently due to how individually strong throwers are, but also how good smash attacks are right now, making them very powerful. Otherwise, we want to start by using the Grand Warden Walk on one side of the base along with a few furnaces to help clear out a small area. This is where we can also use our invisibility spells to control where our fireball goes, and we can then use the fireball along with 2 earthquake spells to get value and create pathing. This is going to allow us to clear out a few more defenses or buildings before we lure the Warden over with the throwers. This is going to allow the Warden to provide support and a lot of damage underneath the Rage Gem, while the Barbarian King and the Siege Barrack is used to clear the funnel on the other side. You can use an Ice Golem there to tank damage so you can preserve as much HP on your Barbarian King, but as you start to work in, Super Wall Breakers are your best friend as you work in, so you can basically keep your throwers moving. You can use a jump spell in order to help the throwers get a little bit deeper into the base, and your totem spells are used to distract defenses. You overall want to make sure that your throwers just consistently are able to work in and do a lot of damage. The Royal Champion can also be used in this situation, a little bit delayed, similar to Super Bowlers, but as you work into the core, having her Frost Flake is incredibly important. This is why having the Rage spell, especially used towards the back end, is going to help, because the throwers just need a ton of survivability, and they do have a lot of that with their range, and having the Frost Flake also helps them a lot because they're taking less damage, and thus they're able to do a lot more since they do a lot of damage per hit. Otherwise, you're just going to allow your troops to easily move through the core. The throwers are particularly powerful thanks to their range, and as long as you have something in front of them like the action figure, you, for the most part, should be able to 3-star this with no problems. The Frost Flake also helps here due to the survivability it gives to your throwers and keeps them alive a lot longer. And easily, the best attack strategy for TH16 players is Itsu's Fireball Yeti Furnace Army. This army is quite fun and very reliable as we're using a Warden charge to set up funneling and also to get value. In this case, we're using the Unicorn, but you can often also use things like the Angry Jelly to move in specifically for defenses. Obviously, with this Warden charge, we want to use 2 furnaces. This is going to establish a little bit of control while also providing some distraction and speeding up our Warden charge itself. This is overall what we want to do. We want to just let the Warden do his own thing, and for the most part, this will allow us to create nice funneling and control for us to use the Fireball on. So we just kind of can leave him be. We can use spells like the Totem spells to distract defenses, especially against enemy heroes, where we can then sneak in a Headhunter or something like that as we continue to work in with the Warden charge. This is where we can then also make sure that we are able to control where that fireball goes. Typically, it's in the core of the base, so we're going to use a few invisibility spells to actually control where the fireball is going to go. This way, we can then launch the fireball in, get some really good value with the 2 earthquake spells in the fireball, and then recall the Warden right back to the army to be used a little bit later. This is where we can then start setting up funneling for our massive hero dive with the log launcher. We're going to use a few Yetis in order to clear out a funnel on both sides of the log launcher, working in with the earthquake spell to do damage to defenses and walls to open them up quicker. As this is going on, we've got the Warden charge on the other side, just being able to create more pathing, more control, and just letting him do his thing, while the Barbarian King and the Archer Queen move in with the log launcher, a nice kill squad to work in, maybe some furnaces as well to provide support. But as we get into the core, we can use the Spiky Ball and Earthquake Boots to open up the base. We also have the Royal Champion that can be used to support our Barbarian King and Archer Queen, along with having the Rocket Spear and, you guessed it, the Frost Flake. This allows us to get a lot of really good value, especially towards the back end, where we can protect a lot of our units, especially from taking too much damage. And this is why having the Rocket Spear is great. It allows us to guarantee those defenses get taken down, and obviously it keeps our Spirit Fox alive as well. It also will support our Barbarian King and Archer Queen as they enter the core of the base, and otherwise, as long as you have some form of cleanup, you should be completely fine to getting a 3-star, so long as you don't time fail. Now, hopefully these attack strategies give you some confidence to try some other attacks, and these are all going to work above Town Hall 16, making them extremely reliable to practice and learn now. Otherwise, if you want to see what the best and the worst equipment are currently in the game, I recommend checking out this video right here, but YouTube says you might prefer this one right here.